now that we're talking about the specific details and everything, let's talk about the tropes that you'll get when approximating certain outfits. Because number one thing, Indiana Jones and the fedora, right? We've referenced that a couple times on the stream, and that is something. I mean, I love wearing my. I mean, I haven't worn it because I don't really. I mean, I'm cognizant of what I look like, But, the
Wait,
brown
MJ,
fedora.
Are you still in the way?
Yeah.
Okay.
The brown fedora is very iconic, right? I mean, so many people. Lots of film characters have worn brown fedoras. Not just Indiana Jones, but of course Indiana Jones has kind of solidified it as like his uniform. And whenever you wear it, whether it's with a suit, whether it's with a T-shirt, whether it's with a sports shirt, no matter what you wear, you will be compared to Indiana Jones.
That or the Mafia, one of the two.
Yeah. And so, but like it kind of makes it hard to incorporate certain things if people are cognizant about it, And that also brings to mind again, some people are intentionally want that, like MJ alluded to earlier with the hoodie, the Zelda hoodie. Where it's literally, it looks like Link's battle attire, and it's, I'm sure that if they made it full Robin Hood, which I definitely have seen where people, you incorporate like actual leather and like a cowl and everything, that might look actually better. I mean, for cosplay reasons, but there are some people who want to exude that, that Link vibe, and they literally wear the hoodie that has like designs on it, kind of, it's like an extension of like the Tuxedo T-shirt, basically, is what it kind of becomes. But yeah, what do you guys think about like the tropes of like dressing like characters?
I think you're right, and I think the iconicity, is that a word? I'm going to use it anyway, but the iconicity of a particular outfit is key when it comes to whether guys like us are coming at it from a fashion perspective, like it or not. To go with the Indiana Jones thing, it's such an iconic outfit that it cannot be separated. Like, in the minds of a lot of people, the idea of fedora and leather jacket, it doesn't matter what the details are. You can be wearing a jacket, you can be wearing a black leather jacket for all they care, and a grey fedora. You'll still probably get Indiana Jones comments, because the level of iconicity that outfit has is so high. It is as high as it is. Whereas there are other film outfits, I suppose. Lots, actually. It's very rare to find something that iconic. With a lot of other film outfits, you could take them verbatim, and I don't think a lot of people would notice. For example, Cary Grant's fit in To Catch a Thief, the grey blazer, tassel loafers, khakis, grey blazer with metal buttons. You could steal that verbatim, I think, and no one would peg you as being Cary Grant, as trying to do Cary Grant cosplay.
Right.
And well, now obviously because it's almost 60 years ago, but even back then, I think you could have stolen that exactly, and people wouldn't have said, "Oh, you're Cary Grant, or you're trying to be Cary Grant."
Oh no!
Right.
Yeah.
Oh Jesus!
So,
you're dying.
I just got mauled by a panther. Okay.
Way to go.
But I mean, the iconicity is an interesting point. All just because something that if I'm reminded of my inspirations and stuff. I love red sweaters. I love gray trousers, and I like wearing my deck shoes. But then putting that together, you become Mr. Rogers. Right. But it's kind of like a fun thing where, it's kind of a cool look. I mean, it's not bad. I mean, most of the stuff when we get inspired by it, aren't necessarily bad looks. It's, whether or not you want that, that specific connotation and everything. And again, at a certain point, I think the way to mitigate it is how much knowledge do you have, and how good is your execution and confidence to make sure that, if you do it, it's not as overt. It's not like, again, you're wearing I would, as much as I love Indiana Jones wearing leather jackets and fedoras, I would maybe wear a fedora with a leather jacket, but I wouldn't wear it with like a khaki shirt and khaki pants, because then that's just...
That's too much, man.
That's too much.
To that point of yours, though, Ethan, I think, again, goes back to the iconicity. The Indiana Jones outfit is so iconic that it doesn't matter what you do with it, what you wear with it. If you're wearing a black leather jacket or brown one, you can modify every single detail, and you're still going to get a few snarky comments about being Indiana Jones. And I guess to set some baselines here, from our perspective, coming as people who are interested in the fashion side of things more than the
Right.
film emulation side of things. If an outfit gets a lot of comments from people saying that, hey, nice Indiana Jones outfit, and that happens to be the majority of the responses, would we consider that a bad outfit? If we put together an outfit and people were saying, oh, you look like everyone told us we look like that character, would that be a bad outfit in our minds?
Well, I mean, they're not saying that you're wearing a bad outfit. They're just saying that you look like a character. Because again, I mean,
but in our minds, to you, Ethan, if you heard a lot of people saying that, would you go like,
well, okay, so
I'm gonna change it up. I don't want to be a character.
I think I've said this story before, but I was at the Rose Bowl flea market. I was wearing a Lee 101J with a red Western shirt, a bandana around my neck, and khaki pants and boots, and I was wearing a brown fedora. And two people were like, "Whoa, look at that Indiana Jones!" Yeah. And I'm like,
"It's not. It has none of the
If you wear a denim jacket, you know,
people just see the brown hat and they hear that
the brown
song.
hat and probably the khakis as well, right? I mean, maybe that's a little too.
Yeah, it's even more general than I thought. It's not even a leather jacket; it's just a short jacket and a fedora.
Right.
That's enough to trigger people. So yeah, again,
I mean, I think my outfit was. I mean, hey, Spencer saw it. I think the outfit was sick, right? That was a good outfit,
right?
Yeah, good one.
And so, I mean, I don't think it's, I don't think the connotations exactly are bad. I think it's, if we can think of it, then it's a bad outfit, or maybe that's being a little too harsh. But I think that, say for us, if we're coming up with something and we think, oh, I look straight up like this person, I think that most of us in the chat here are mature in the style to be like, I want to look like myself.
Yeah.
As opposed to a character. I want the inspiration to be there, but I want to make sure I still look like myself. And if the connotations are still big enough for myself to think about, like if I put an outfit, I'm like, oh, I look like fucking Indiana Jones, I probably would change something. Whereas maybe even if someone else said it, if I can think to myself that I don't look like Indiana Jones, then it's a better outfit, at least to me. I don't know. What do you guys
like? For me, Ethan, I'll just.
Yeah, well, for me, it would count as a clear deduction. I think in terms of how good I think that outfit is.
Wait, what happened? I was just in the menu.
I hogtied you, and then Crips killed me.
You hate when that happens.
Yeah.
Isn't it awful?
Let me see if I could cut you free. I don't know if Crips is still mad.
Yeah.
Oh, he's pissed.
An outfit would be downgraded. Maybe I wouldn't stop wearing it just because of one comment, but it would be it would take away from it a bit because fundamentally, I want to dress for myself. I want my clothing to be an expression of me, my own personality. And as soon as one person sort of says Indiana Jones to me, it means there's one person out there who
feed it to an alligator.
Who thinks I think I'm someone else, who thinks I think I'm Harrison Ford, and
if someone thinks I'm Harrison Ford, I'm gonna let them think that. I think.
Ethan, do you remember that comedy Bang Bang where the guy is like Paul McCartney, but he's like some guy living in Kansas? Yeah. I don't know.
To that philosophical end, Harrison Ford may get more tail than I do, but I'd still want to be myself. I would want to be genuine. Not myself, but cooler. Yeah.
Matt, what were you saying before? I'll just.
I was gonna say that this is sort of a preview for the the Pocket Harmony episode that we talked about on Twitch first before it was a podcast episode. But this is referencing that where it's like I think we at some point like Ethan was saying when we have our style we develop standards at a certain point. So at least people in our crowd we're not going to
Crips killed me.
Oh, what happened? Damn it, Crips! F's in the chat to kill Crips instantly. No, but we have standards that's just we know enough not to just completely kowtow to whatever we're taking inspiration from. I like high-rise pants. Timothy Chalamet does not like high-rise pants. I'm not just gonna stop doing that because he does that. So we all have our own personal styles that we can take inspiration from other people, but still incorporate things that make us what we consider human and not just not doing things we like just because someone else isn't,
right?
We have our own standards.
Yeah, definitely. Because I think that something I just thought of is when you are when we wear tuxedos. I think that's probably because we don't see a lot of regular people in tuxedos, we always think of like movies. I think that might be one of the big ones where we're directly, like, oh man, James Bond in tuxedo. I mean, that's the only tuxedo exposure I can think of, right? Maybe we saw like pictures of Jimmy Stewart.
So are you saying when you put on a tuxedo, you think of James Bond? For
I mean, it's so strong for me even that I think that, so it's like, it's one of those things. And but that's like a very positive one. I mean, again, a tuxedo is very basic in the grand scheme of clothing. You can't really do, I mean, there's a lot of evening wear, right? But a tuxedo is, a matching set of a dinner jacket and trousers, and then the wing collar or whatever, and then the bow tie. There's not a lot of variance there. So I think that a lot of places, it's easy to get that kind of connotation, but also own into it. Or even the Casablanca, right? With the
white dinner jacket.
The white dinner jacket. That one is, again, iconic and something that I feel like that's great, and I do that. But then the more and more I do it, because I've only done it twice so far. To make it more me, the second time I wore a white dinner jacket, I wore it with a beret, because that makes more sense to me. Even if I am wearing everything else pretty much the same. Then I also wore cream socks with my evening slippers. So it's like makes it a little bit more.
It's interesting when you bring up black tie, because I think that's the intersection between an outfit or a look that the regular man considers as costume, but is also very appreciated by menswear folk. Usually the two then cross, but in black tie, I think, and its variations, its warm weather variations, that's the crossover point. And that's the missing link. Yeah. And it goes back to black tie being. And it goes to black tie being so regimented, and the fact that we generally accept that it has rules, and we follow the rules of black tie a lot more than we follow rules in general. I think we can't help but looking like James Bond to the casual observer. I think, but we're cool with that. It's just interesting.
Yeah, like that one's fine.
Yeah, that one's fine, but it's definitely a costume. And it's definitely people. You're definitely getting James Bond comments, and the association I think would be as strong as the association might be. I know I'm not an average person, but I feel like the association would be in the same category as whatever level Indiana Jones and his outfit is on. It's that iconic.
Yeah.
Is it weird that I can't think of actual too many film tropes? Like people think, oh, this Indiana Jones, and you could say, the tuxedo. Oh, I feel like James Bond. But outside of that, the Drive jacket or the Blade Runner jacket, maybe anything Ryan Gosling wears, I guess. But just what even is there? It's just I just can't even think of any. What do normal people say?
I think nowadays, if you wore a black turtleneck with black pants, people might think Archer.
Or a black turtleneck and Levi's, Steve Jobs.
Yeah. Steve Jobs, yeah, exactly.
With the chain, you become the Rock.
The Rock. I have gotten Mr. Bean twice.
You've got Mr. Bean.
Yeah.
My flexible friend.
When I wore a houndstooth jacket with a white, striped shirt, but you can't really see it sometimes, and with a red grenadine tie, charcoal, white socks, and loafers.
That's it.
It was
no. Can you do a Mr. Bean? Can you do a Mr. Bean impression? What's your Mr. Bean sound like?
What's your favorite Mr. Bean quote? Teddy, that's pretty good. That's the only quote, by the way.
Okay.
Teddy. I wear a white tie with a top hat, looking my style icon.
Yeah, there's good stuff in the comments, and Jeremy was like, "Black tie is a costume."
So here's something. Earlier, Jeremy also says, feeling costumey versus not being confident in a new style. Well, I think John again, I guess earlier, kind of talked about this.
I wasn't ready.
He started wearing a bandana because of what he saw in Magnificent Seven. And of course, whenever you try something new, it's going to look, you're going to feel kind of weird wearing it. But then, if you guys are in the Discord or if you guys are part of the Facebook group, which is the, I guess the free version, if you want to be in it, but he posts a lot of pictures there, and you'll see that he wears a bandana with, T-shirts, Oxford shirts. He does a lot. And I don't think of the Magnificent Seven. I mean, I've seen the movie, but I don't think of that. And I think now it's not just because he's not wearing it with Western wear, but because he's made it his own thing,
But it's one element, though, and it's hard for one element to be iconic. Really,
I think the only other iconic thing I can think of is, Clint Eastwood's poncho in the Sergio Leone spaghetti westerns. I don't think you could wear a poncho and not get have someone make that reference toward you, because it's just so like there's no other screen moment, and it's not a normal clothing item. I think that's part of the problem is like you could base your wardrobe off of like very simple, boring, run-of-the-mill clothing, but as soon as you wear an item of clothing that is not typically worn, and that item also happens to coincide with a very large feature film character wearing that, you're gonna have trouble like disassociating yourself from that, because it's a weird item, and it's been also in a very popular movie or series of movies. So I think it's a little bit tough anytime you have something I think that fits at the intersection of those two things.
Right. I think.
Yeah, it's a good point that often more unique forms of clothing are only really known in the public imagination because of exposure through because of being featured in films or TV.
Yeah.
Like most people only know the Black Beret because Black Panthers or Che Guevara, that one poster. Obviously they go right to that, even though it's not necessarily an iconic film character's costume. It's just being niche. It's only known for certain iconic things.
Right.
On the other hand, like maybe a collar bar, a collar pin, like Del Resto Westcott was talking about. It's unusual. If you wore that in a tie, people might point out and say, "What the hell's that underneath your tie?" I think I got that at some point when I wore collar bars, collar pins. But it's not iconic. It's rare in that it's rare, but not associated with anything or anyone in particular. No one's coming up to me and saying, "Oh, you look like Jimmy Stewart with that collar bar on." It's not a thing.
What if they were? Oh my god.
Then I'd be their friends because kindred spirits, and I don't have friends.
Instant litmus test.
Yeah. Love at first sight.
I mean, I think I got the collar bar from watching The Great Gatsby. I think now that I think about it, I mean he had the collar, like the screw on one with the eyelet, but then I found the clips, and I mean I did the actual pin one for a little while, and that was a little bit, I didn't get too many comments on it. I mean, I still don't really do that. I mean, you would think that as a guy who wears a collar bar with almost every outfit that I'm wearing a tie with, with the OCBDs excluded, you would think people would talk about it more as like, whoa, what are you trying to be all fancy? But no one's ever really mentioned that. Maybe it's because, again, it's so small, people don't really look at it. People are more concerned with that I'm wearing like a full suit or I'm wearing a sport coat or something.
For me, it was never fancy comments. It was more like, what the hell is that? I don't know what that is underneath your tie knot.
This is really embarrassing, but outside of Sven and all his knowledge, do you want to know my film inspiration for a collar pin? It was Ben Affleck as Bruce Wayne.
Oh no, John Wick. What about John Wick?
Because he had the monochromatic black suit, but he had like a collar pin. So
hey, James Bond wore one too. Inspector.
Oh,
right. Tab collar, right?
Yeah. He wears a tab collar in the other one.
In Skyfall, but Inspector when
there's a collar pin in that. Jeez,
yeah,
really?
when he goes to the bomb maker that he kills in Mexico City, where he gets Monica Bellucci for like 5 minutes of screen time. He wears like a Tom Ford outfit.
That's a collar bar, though, right? It's the shirt with the eyelets in it, right?
Collar bar. Exactly. Something that we didn't really get to talk about. I mean, something that could be for the future is like musician style, and I think that's also very interesting.
And the many variations of Miles Davis.
It will just be Jason talking about punk rock.
Yeah, it'll be me talking about SLP for Harry Styles and Lenny Kravitz, and then Miles Davis thrown.
I mean, we started compiling that inspo album of composers.
Composers, that's right. That's gonna be a good one too. But I think that what the difference again there is that musicians kind of let themselves to be more like documented more from like a documentarian style, right? I think that's what's really cool. Like all the film pictures, the behind the scenes, like in session studio stuff. That is cooler to get inspo from than say like maybe like a music video, perhaps.
MJ, start heading over to Blackwater because there's a mission there.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I think that there's a lot of interesting ways to kind of get inspiration and pull stuff and make it not as overt. I think and most of the time people aren't gonna really, unless you're wearing a fedora, people won't care. People maybe not even notice that you're pulling something from a certain place.
Yeah, the idea of iconicity. There's certain elements that you just can't escape. If you put it on, you're gonna get those.
You
comments.
can't escape it.
Yeah. But there's but a lot of stuff you can pull from films, and it's not iconic enough such that you will get people saying, "Hey, you look like Travis Bickle in Taxi Driver," even if you were wearing that. Yeah, even if you were wearing.
And even then, you look at say all those guys who like want to look like Drive. I mean, again, yeah, if you do the whole look and you actually get the driving gloves with it, yeah, it's pretty bad. But Suka John jackets have been around for a long time.
Yeah, like maybe don't wear like a white one or whatever, but if you wear
with the scorpion,
exactly.
Yeah, skip the scorpion. I think.
But if you're wearing like a Suka jacket with like a Henley and jeans, I mean that's a solid look. Does it have to be Drive?
Yeah. Is that what they're called? Suka jackets? That's that Russian for bitch, though, isn't it?
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, now you know. Okay.
And Suka is throw up in Tagalog, I think, right? MJ Suka.
Yeah, and then suka is vinegar also to in Tagalog.
And solka is a
shirts and ties. Yeah.
All right, someone clip this.
Jeremy,
Things that sound
I want
like
to quickly
other
talk about something though. Early in the chat, the guys were talking about white tie, and it made me think. I think because, as I was saying earlier, I don't like being mistaken for being Emerald, a costume. Or being trying to emulate a particular film character.
So go to Blackwater.
Go ahead. I'll just keep talking.
Yeah, I can't be heard over them there.
I'm sorry.
You're fine. Keep going.
White tie. Because I really don't want to look like like I'm emulating a film character, which would be James Bond with black tie. There's a possibility that actually would prefer white tie over black tie because it doesn't have that strong iconicity, that strong.
Only an old person would be like, "You look like Fred Astaire," but like than James Bond.
So in white tie, I mean, most people don't know the bloody difference these days. There's the formality issue, but I'm pretty sure, like, if you showed up in white tie at a black tie event, they'd be. It wouldn't be crazy, I think, and then it would be still a unique evening wear outfit. In a way,
there's that guy in white tie.
I need to.
It says white tie is basically Dracula,
or Phantom of the Opera.
Basically.
Yeah. Maybe.
We got the
still
thing
not
here.
as strong as James Bond, though. I don't know. Yeah, I might. Yeah.
Jeremy says it's academia and dark academia, like those niche styles. Are they costumey? Yeah, because they're inspired by film. I can see it. Again, it's one of those things. I mean, again, overall, it's only people who are in the know will notice it, unless we are. It's some outfits from academia can look like you're trying too hard to be what's it called, Newt Scamander. I think wearing like a tweed overcoat with boots and like a crew neck sweater, or any kind of it's very Tumblr core, very like fandomy kind of stuff there. So I mean, it's more costumey to people who are aware of things, but I think that to a regular person, you might look like a fun, cool take on like prep or like 80s, 90s kind of more fall core IV, kind of, with a fun silhouette and everything. But yeah, again, most of these things are just kind of for us to say we're always going to make these connections because a regular person will just say. You look sharp, and I think that's what dark academia is. It definitely.
Regular people love telling other people that they look sharp
or dapper.
Yeah, and I'm just like, no, tell me that I look dull.
Jeremy says I was definitely inspired by academia coming up more so than Ivy. I think same for me too. When I see those tweed jackets, crew neck sweaters, again on Tumblr from like 2013, it's kind of hard not to kind of be inspired and take a couple of cues from that, at least early on in the journey. And again, these things do take, if you want to take a look at Dead Poet Society or movies like that, they're lifting up older styles, right? They're looking at Ivy, they're looking at prep, and putting it through a new kind of lens. So for me, after you get that initial inspiration from the film, I always try and look at, okay, what are they looking at? What is the original root of this, right? Like, even if you're going to watch like a Western film, from the 50s, you could look at like, photographs from Western towns and get inspiration from that.
Or just look at like 50s Western wear. That's the easier way to do it.
Yeah, look at the actual pieces, maybe not exactly for film, or whatever. And I think that's what makes it kind of cool. But, I can understand the appeal of using media to be inspired, because, that's kind of what the common vocabulary of regular people who may not be into
it's a common baseline. You hit the nail on the head.
Exactly.
When people don't know how to describe what you are, it's what they fall back on. It's either you're dapper or you look like, maybe if they're a bit more sophisticated, maybe you look like this particular character.
I like Doctor Who.
Oh God.
Yeah. You look like
there's
doctor,
some academia for you a little bit there. Yeah, you mean the doctor, the 11th doctor.
The doctor.
The doctor is it.
That's what he says.
That's right.
Halsey says, I think we should also talk about how you can take inspo from a film's fit if they play off their setting. It takes a broader aesthetic inspo.
I mean, that's what that's what I was kind of meaning when talking about like mood or vibe or whatever as well.
Hey guys, and stay with me now. This is called Vibe.
It's called Vibe.
Yeah. It's like every time I watch, like, when I watch, the summer that I watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Inherent Vice, and fucking Bad Times at the El Royale or whatever. All three, I got in a very late 60s mood and I never left.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, and hey, speaking of that, what about fucking Doc Sportello?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm talking about. It's like, again, it's like all very simple outfits. It's just like a jungle jacket, a shirt, and then he either wears like jeans or cords. And it's like he has some different looks. Like there's one look that he has where he's wearing a jungle jacket with like a blue pinstripe suit vest from the 30s and like a 70s like orange sport shirt. And it's like I wouldn't wear that exact look, but I'm like, oh no, that's actually like a really cool idea. Like the basic idea.
Yeah, and you would probably think about what he has, like what he would have in his closet.
Yeah.
What the line is of it. Yeah.
Guys, what's the coolest comparison you ever gotten from a stranger or just an average person? If people come up to you and say, "Oh, you look like this character," are there any in particular that stand out as
I don't think I've ever gotten a cool.
Particularly.
Are you a
particularly
Kingsman?
niche and cool? Yeah.
Are you a Kingsman? Yeah. Oh yeah, we didn't even talk about fucking Kingsman, dude. Like that's like I think the one good thing from Kingsman is the black tie outfit that
Colin Firth.
Harry wears, yeah. With like the tartan odd trousers or whatever. I think that's fucking sick. And I feel like if I wore that, people would think of that too. Because when I was in college, Raj, my friend, again, one of the best dressers I met, I'm fortunate to be friends with. He got tartan trousers, and even him just wearing it with an odd jacket. Some people did say like, "Oh yeah, I remember that from Kingsman," but it's a fucking look, dude. Tartan odd trousers with a navy blazer, dinner jacket, whatever. It looks sick as hell, And but yeah, that movie, I think. I did a couple of looks inspired by it. I wore wearing a DB with like thick frame glasses. I was like, okay, I'm Kingsman, baby.
Put on the name there, yeah.
I would wear. That's what got me to get a belted jacket in the first place, like a belted work jacket. Because I knew it wasn't a safari, and I couldn't find like the barber waxman, but then I got like a corduroy work jacket that had a belt, and that was pretty cool. But the coolest, I don't know. I think that I've gotten to a point now where my style doesn't really have overt connotations to things, and also it kind of goes in hand with me going out more, because I think I have more confidence now, and I hang out with other people as opposed to maybe just wearing stuff with my friends, and maybe not showing off my outfits as much. So it's kind of a weird thing where maybe back then if I dressed up and stuff, people would on the street would be like, "Hey, you look like Gatsby or something, or James Bond." But then now, because I go out, I go to Bobo with my friends. I go out to trunk shows or whatever.
Well, certainly a lot less stereotypical than well, certainly even you're much less stereotypical now than you might have been before when you were doing Gatsby.
Exactly. Yeah. So.
But I'm wondering if to an extent it's inescapable there, because you still get comments from time to time about "Hello, Professor," right? That sort of thing.
I don't think it's escapable. It's not going to be escapable. It's like
it's not escapable.
I mean, it's like
it's not bad.
Yeah, you just gotta let it wash over you. That's what I've done, man. You just.
I mean, hey, Donald Sutherland.
I don't think it
Karen Allen in Animal House, so that's not bad.
Yeah. The coolest comparison I ever got was there was this one white guy who came up to me. No, not came up to me, but
his name was Bob Dylan.
Well, it was a dinner when we were at the same table, and he pointed out that I looked like I stepped out of a Wong Kar-wai film, and I thought that was pretty niche.
That's
pretty niche cool. And cool. Yeah.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Considering.
What about culture. Yoshi? Have you gotten anything from any comments related to film or connotations?
Not related to film. I'm trying really hard to think like what the closest would be. I mean, I can't think of an instance at all. Would either good or bad. I would think the bad ones would stand out, but I don't have anything like any. No one's ever made any comments in regards to comparing me to some sort of movie or TV show, which I think is a compliment in and of itself.
Maybe
you're very average.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's.
Hold on.
I think if. Yeah. I can't think of anything. If something comes back, because I was thinking about why we were talking about this, but if something comes back to me, I'll mention it. But I don't have anything right now.
We'll put it in the show notes.